On the train platform, passers-by looked with surprise at a strange couple, a tearful woman in her early 40s and her beautiful daughter. The mother, every now and then, wiping away the tears that appeared in her eyes, waited for the arrival of the train. Samantha Foreman really don't want her daughter to leave, but at the same time, she was well aware that in Chicago, new opportunities would open up to Sharon, which in their small town in southern Wisconsin, one can only dream of. From early childhood, Sharon showed love for medicine, and therefore she had no doubt about the choice of the further path. Quite recently, having fulfilled the dream of her whole life, the girl became a nurse. Sharon's dad died a long time ago. The girl was 3 years old. Hereditary diseases are often cruel and take the lives of unfortunate patients with appalling regularity. At that moment, the noise of a arriving train was heard, and the people standing on the platform became noticeably agitated. "Don't forget about your mom, honey. Call, write, or just visit," Mrs. Foreman said, feeling her heart filled with longing and sadness. "What are you talking, Mommy? Of course I'll visit you. Don't even doubt it," Sharon hastened to reply. "I believe you, daughter. Oh, I almost forgot, honey. I've been saving up a little bit here. Take it. It'll be enough to start with." The woman sat and put an envelope with money in her daughter's purse. Sharon was confused at first and tried to give the money back to her mom, but Mrs. Foreman didn't even want to hear anything about it. "Thank you, Mom. I will definitely give you money back," Sharon replied, feeling embarrassed. Samantha Foreman, seeing that her daughter had already entered the train car, wiped away a tear and waved her hand. Big City met Sharon ungraciously. Huge streams of people scurried through the streets, each driven by their own goal. The city was like a huge anthill, in which life did not stop to a minute. Sharon got immediately lucky with her job. After an interview, she was sent to the trauma unit, which has always been considered one of the most prestigious in the clinic. New worries swirled the girl in a maelstrom of events and duties of a nurse. The closest thing to Sharon was a nurse named Rachel, with whom they became friends from the first day of work. The girls had a lot in common, and they shared the most intimate things with each other. Once during night duty, a beaten young guy was brought to the unit. By the tattered and dirty clothes, it was easy to recognize the street tramp in him. As it turned out, the guy named Floyd was attacked in the underpass by a group of drunk young people. Sharon happened to give first aid to him. Rachel, who worked with her in the same department, wrinkled her nose and flatly denied to help the homeless person. "Who knows what he's sick with? Either way, it's disgusting," Rachel cynically declared. But Sharon, somehow, immediately felt sympathy for the guy. Despite the fact that he looked like a tramp, his thoughts and speech were very eloquent. One day, during the night watch, they got into conversation. Sharon found out for herself that Floyd's fate was very unfortunate. The guy was an orphan and never knew his parents. Of course, he was not a villain, but he led a very dangerous and unpredictable life. "Listen, Floyd, you need to start all over again. You're not an idiot," Sharon said, trying to encourage the patient. "Who would want me? I'm just a street bum. I see how people look at me here," the guy said sadly. Despite the fact that the entire medical staff of the department was opposed to Floyd, Sharon continued to take care of him and help in everything. Realizing that in order for the guy to recover faster, he needed to eat well, so Sharon always tried to bring him something delicious. "What are you doing with this tramp? Aren't there enough normal guys for you?" Rachel said bitterly. But it was difficult for Sharon to explain her feelings for Floyd. It was a mixture of pity, mercy, and something that was incomprehensible to her. By the time Floyd recovered from the hospital, Sharon offered him to stay at her place. The orphan boy has never been a freeloader, and therefore, from the first day of his discharge, he began to earn his own fortune. Gradually, Sharon and Floyd became very attached to each other. They walked around the city at night, chatted about everything in the world, and shared plans for the future. Their romance broke out suddenly, dragging young people into an abyss of passion and love. One day, Sharon invited Floyd to move to her homeland, Wisconsin. "Do you know how beautiful our places are? There is no such place anywhere on earth. Take my word for it, and also I'll introduce you to Mom." "It's so awkward for me." Floyd was embarrassed. "Darling, don't be. For you, this is a chance to start a new life, Sharon replied with a smile. Fortunately, Floyd didn't resist for long. He really had nothing to lose. Samantha Foreman's joy knew no bounds. Finally, you're here! My girl is here! Wiping away a tear, Mrs. Foreman said. Floyd was confused at first, but then, pulling himself together, gradually got used to it. Life in a town in southern Wisconsin was strikingly different from life in Chicago, and flowed steadily and unhurriedly. Sharon answered vaguely to her mother's questions about Floyd's past, being afraid to put her boyfriend in an awkward position. But, as it usually happens, the truth came up by itself. One day when Sharon and Floyd went to the store, Rachel called her mother. So, through the fault of her daughter's chatty friend, Samantha immediately found exactly under what circumstances Sharon and Floyd met, and who in fact is her fiancé. Samantha frowned and pursed her lips resentfully after she hung up the phone. At home, Sharon was already waiting for a serious conversation. My daughter, of course I understand you, but really, was it impossible to find someone more decent? Mrs. Foreman asked sadly. Mom, you don't know him at all. I love Floyd. Don't you understand? Sharon exclaimed. Okay, I understand that you have feelings for him, but think about my words, Samantha said, changing her anger to mercy. Unfortunately, Floyd more and more often began to catch the sidelong glances of local residents. If earlier it was the usual dislike of visitors, now an undisguised mockery glided in their eyes. Time passed. Floyd worked part-time in a town, doing minor repairs and roofing. The relationship between him and Sharon became even stronger, and it was getting closer to the wedding. And then, on the warm July morning, the girl happily announced to the groom and mother that she was pregnant. Thank you, my daughter. What a great thing! Mrs. Foreman exclaimed admiringly. An ultrasound examination conducted in a local clinic showed twins. Although the town looked with disapproval at Sharon's growing belly, the young people did not care about anything. And one day when Floyd and Sharon returned from the store, Mrs. Foreman handed over an envelope that the postman had brought that morning. The young people saw a notification addressed to Floyd. According to it, the guy had to come to nearest police station. The reason for the appearance was not specified. So Floyd spent a sleepless night trying to figure out exactly why the guards of the law needed him. Maybe they want to arrest me for my old sins? A disturbing thought flashed through a guy's head. Anyway, the next day, he went to the police station at the early morning. To his great surprise, the duty officer called someone and handed him the phone. Hello, sir. Robinson family calls you. We have information that you will be very interested in. The fact is that 25 years ago, a monstrous mistake occurred in one of the maternity wards in Chicago. Is it convenient for you if we meet now? Asked the pleasant male baritone on the other end of the line. Floyd agreed, and by the appointed time came to the cafe, where an elegantly dressed elderly couple was already waiting for him. Look how much he looks like you, Larry! The woman exclaimed, throwing up her hands. Not understanding anything, Floyd sat down at the table. Over a cup of coffee, the woman said that a week ago, their son died in a hospital after a car accident. The victim was immediately given a blood transfusion. That's when it turned out that her son has a third blood type, and she and her husband have the second. Suspecting something was wrong, the couple did DNA test. To the great amazement of Pamela and Larry Robinson, the test unequivocally confirmed that they are not the parents of the young man lying in the clinic. Turning to the maternity ward, couple found out that on that day only 2 women in labor gave birth. One of them was a young girl from a dysfunctional family, and the second was a wealthy middle-aged woman. In both cases, boys were born. Apparently, as a result of gross mistake, the babies were simply misplaced in maternity ward. Floyd's parents were most likely the people sitting across from him now. Holding his head, the guy did not know how to cope with the surging emotions, although the DNA test has not been done yet. But the external similarity between him and his father was impossible not to notice. Floyd returned to his fiancée's house not as an orphan, but as a child of rich parents. The DNA test results came back a week later, and they confirmed that he was the son of Pamela and Larry Robinson. Now a completely different life has come for the guy. Parents having lost a non-biological son suddenly find a biological one. And him, they saw their inheritor and could not get enough of their happiness. The news that Floyd, now the son of millionaires, spread throughout the town. Now everyone considered that their duty to shake hands with him, thereby showing their disposition. Local girls immediately began to look at Sharon as a rich bride. Floyd, with the help of his parents, opened the clothing factory in the town, which provided work for most of the locals. Sharon safely gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. Young people named them Molly and Simon. Floyd's parents now spent all their free time with their grandchildren, trying to surround them with care and affection.